Welcome back to the shop, everybody. Today is going to be a super fun day because we're finally going to be able to get to crush something in the big giant vise. It's sitting on a trailer from Powder Coat, and all we have to do is put it together and we're ready to go. So let's go to it. So the vise is coming together awesome, but there's one more personal touch that I'd like to add to it. Crush. I'm so excited to show you this awesome vise. Take a look at all its cool features. It's red, it's beautiful, it's pinstriped, it's nickel plated, it's gigantic, it's heavy, and it's beautiful, all wrapped into one. And remember, this started off as a piece of rusty plate steel that was sitting underneath that material rack over there, and now look what it's transformed into. But not only does it have to be beautiful looking, it needs to function and it needs to be operational because this is a machine shop. So let me walk you through what I did and why I didn't do some things. And let's start with the wheel and I'll show you how it works. So I put a wheel on here instead of a traditional handle. Look how fast I can move the jaw in and out with a quick flywheel turn. There's no way a traditional handle you can turn it that fast. And I can operate it from any side with both hands. And the thrust bearings inside here make it super easy to turn. I mean, for a big girl, this jaw moves rather fast and there is a lot of weight moving and it feels effortless. And it's also lower than the jaw, so if you're swinging a hammer, you're not going to be hitting it. So it's a great height, and I think the 16 inches is going to give me enough leverage to still put some serious clamping load on with this 5 threads per inch. So that's why there's a wheel on here. I think it looks stunning and it makes this vise look unique. Another question I want to address is that this meat between the pin and the top of this frame is too thin and it's just going to break right off. Well, let me tell you what it actually measures. That's 8.5 inches of 1 5/8 plate times 2, so that's over 3.5 inches thick plate, plus this 3/4 that it's sitting on that you're going to have to bend. All with a 16-inch little tiny wheel over here with a little 1-inch screw. It's not about the screw, it's about the hydraulic jack. That thing will bend this frame. Well, no it won't, because you could literally take this frame right here, run a saw up it, remove this whole back of this vise, because it's not needed. Because remember, this arm is connected to this pin. When you push down on the jack, the pin wants to go down. When the arm goes in and pushes on the jaw, the pin wants to go backwards. So there's a lot of down and back force, which does nothing to do with this up here. Okay, this pin would stay in place even if you cut it out and it just sat in the saddle. So there's nothing that's really crazy in here for it being too thin. I just have it this thick and wide because I think it looks good. So I built this vise to have a 30-inch throat. So from the top of the jaw down to the bottom of this valley, we have 30 inches. So let me show you what can fit in something like this. We can hold a giant piece of sheet metal. Ta-da! Maybe we want to turn it to its side. That's handy. Or what about a weird fabricated piece of tube steel? How about here? What about something tall and narrow? So having that deep throat is extremely useful. But what happens if the machine is just physically in its own way? Much like if you want to wrap something through here or around. Well, this vise has another trick up its sleeve, so let me show you. By taking off the 8 socket-headed cap screws, we can offset the jaws and have a throatless, sideless vise. So let me show you what we can do with this. Or we'll use the table legs again, and now it moves the work out closer to us and we can access the whole part that we're working on. Now the vise really allows us to clamp our parts that are really virtually floating in space. So we can use the jaws much like a lathe chuck, to where we can use the outside of the jaws to clamp on the inside of parts. And by pinning the screw so that we can pull, we can now hold parts on the inside diameter and spread apart and hold that way too. We have a ton of jaw options to be able to bolt down into these holes. The options are literally endless. So I can clamp this tube between the two jaws traditionally around the outside. But because this is thin wall, and maybe it's a little bit wobbly, and you really don't want to put a lot of pressure on it, we can put the jaw on the inside and clamp on just the sidewall. This providing a much higher clamping load without the worry of crushing the tube. So it's pretty strong. Strong enough to sit on the end of it and not even tip the vise over. So you got a lot of work holding options when you have the jaws sticking out like this, which I think is my favorite way to have the vise in this configuration. So I'm probably going to make a longer set of jaws to capture all 4 bolt holes. So there's one thing I want to share with you guys that you can't necessarily see on camera, and that's how dainty and delicate this vise really is about holding small parts. And how this works is the jaw follows the screw because of gravity, so there is 0 backlash. So any little motion in the wheel turning left or right, the jaw is moving. So it's extremely handy for holding even small parts, such as like screws or nuts or bolts. I can pinch right on the edge and really dial in the feel without crushing it, just by a little bit of motion, and the jaw follows my every movement. The biggest vise in the shop has the most sensitivity. So we know it has a real soft touch, but let's see how much power she can generate. Test your strength. Oh, I can't see where I'm at. Holy moly, 12,884 pounds. So what does 12,800 pounds mean? Well, if you look back to our Amazon testing vise series, that broke almost all of them. So that is a serious number. Let's see how nice it is to loosen up. Like a breeze. Okay, let's test the air over hydraulic jack. Okay, so that's where we're at with the air. 22,000. There's 30,000. So the jack was 30,219 pounds, and that's perfectly in line because this is a 32-ton jack. The mechanical advantage is cut in half because of the arm length. So that's perfectly acceptable. Remember, this is not a press, it's a clamp. And if I ever need 30,000 pounds of holding power, then I'm working on something serious. But I know I have it if I want it, and I know just with the air that I get 20,000 pounds. So that's pretty good. What does all that force and pressure and work holding actually mean? Well, nothing, unless you're able to do something with it. And a common thing is to maybe bend a big piece of 1" by 2" flat bar. So I would like to bend this over onto itself and literally fold it in half with using the vise. So let's fire up the forge, put some heat into it, and bend it over. Ready for another one? See, we can make blacksmith Christmas ornaments. You know, we'll just paint some spiral lines on there and hang it on the Christmas tree. But to be real, this would be extremely difficult to bend something like this in that shorter period of time, right over on top of itself. I like what I see. So I want to do some fun crushing with the vise since we did all this work. So I want to start with these few items. Of course, we got to crush a can. Why not? Some goofy tape. I want to elongate it, turn it into a pile of mush. A 2x4, piece of hard oak. Of course, I want to do a ball crusher and the Harbor Freight vise from the vise test. So let's start with the easy, the can. It's as flat as it's gonna get. Since we're machinists, so an 1/8 of an inch. Some goofy tape. That's so weird looking. Watch this thing go. Turned it inside out. A gross mess on the inside of that. That is so weird. 2x4 smash test. Good kindling. Look at that. I bet you could start a fire in there really easily. That's too easy. Piece of hard oak. Oh, look at that. So let's smash some balls, but I need a little more protection. So let's get some face coverings. Much better. Vise protection. I don't know. We'll find out. And the Harbor Freight vise from the vise test. All right, little buddy, bite down on this. This is gonna hurt. Whoa! Woo! Good thing I had my protection on. That was so cool. We broke it. Well, we knew that wasn't going to last for very long. Feel like a kid again. This was so fun to be able to use the tool, try it out, test it, experiment, see how much clamping force this puppy has, and I absolutely love building things just like this. But I have many more ideas, and I hope you guys join me for all of them. So I'll see you next time.